Hello, I'm Vishkivu and I'm developing One-Way Dungeon. In this video, I'll show you the approach I took to create and configure the various monsters and moves in the game. This is usually called a data-driven approach to software development, where I use a plain text file to describe the various elements of the game. I'll start with a simple RPG battle system, which will later be expandable using a configuration file. So I have the game here set up. Let's run it, and it's pretty simple. We just press the attack button, it deals damage to the monster, and if the monster is still alive, it deals damage to the player, and we have some progress bars here tracking the health of each of them. Okay, so we were defeated by the monster. Let's see how this is working in code. This launched Visual Studio Code because I have it configured as the text editor for Godot, and later we'll be creating a JSON file which, as far as I can tell, cannot be edited using Godot's internal text editor. So in here I get a reference to all the visual elements of the screen. I have the attributes of the player and the attributes of the monster. On the ready function I set it all up, so the total HP of the player and its current HP, which at the beginning of the game it's equal to its total HP, and its attack, and the same for the monster, total HP, current HP, and the attack of the monster. And at the end I update the monster's health bar and the player's health bar. These are a couple of simple functions that simply update the health bar. This function here is connected to the button press, and it's what makes the combat happen. So first we start by attacking the monster. To the monster HP we subtract the player attack, update the health bar, and if the monster is dead we present the message "you defeated the monster" and disable the button. If the monster is still alive it attacks the player, and it happens the same for the player. He receives damage, the health bar is updated, and we check if the player is still alive. Let's go back to the game, and by playing our game we see that the monster is too strong. We were defeated. So maybe we should rebalance the game. We go back to the code, and let's put our player a little bit stronger. Okay, so let's run this again. Okay, so now we defeated the monster. Well, this is a small game, therefore it's very easy to make changes. But if we're working on a large project, we may have our data scattered all around the codebase. The data-driven approach is to have one or more files that contain as much of the game's static data as possible. So I'm going to create a JSON file. And in this file, I'll start to put the data that I need in the game. So now that we have all the data in our file, we need to read the file in our code to get that data. So in here we have one single string containing all of the file. This is not good for us to use in our code. Let me show you. Let's see it in action. Here's the content of our file, and here JSON data is string to true. So now we need to get this data into a more usable form. Godot already has a pretty good JSON parser, And when it parses JSON, it returns a dictionary with everything in it. So let's see how to do that. So this class here contains the parse data, or if there was an error parsing it, it contains an error code and an error string and a line in the JSON where the error was found. We should always check if the parsing worked okay. Let's assume that everything went okay and we have data ready to be used. Okay, now we got the data in the dictionary. Let's just confirm it. Okay, here we have our data in the dictionary, and game data is a dictionary, true. So now that we have this, we can use the data from the file instead of the magic numbers we have on our code. Let's see it in action. Okay, everything is working. We defeated the monster. Let's put the monster with a little bit more health. So he has 120. And see this working. Okay, so we are not dealing so much damage to the monster now. Okay, so our data file can hold any textual data. This means that we can also use it to hold references to resources in our Godot project. So now I'm going to edit it and have it store the texture that I want to use for the monster sprite. And now I need to use code to load it. Let's go back to Godot. And now, since we don't want this texture here, we want the texture that is defined in our file. We can clear this and it will load from the file. Here we have, and it's still working. Now this all looks very cool, but it really starts to shine when you have a big number of similar elements. Let's set it up so that it's easy to add new monsters. Since we changed the structure of our data file, we need to change a little bit in the code so that it knows where to get the information it needs. Let's see it in action. All right. Let's add another monster. we have the zombie, and it attacks for a lot, but we managed to defeat the monster. And this is it. But before finishing this video, I want to focus on two more things. When exporting the game, the JSON file will not be included in the binary. This is because JSON is not one of the normal Godot resources. So you need to go into Godot, Project, Export, and in your preset, you go here to Resources, and where it says Filter to export non-resource files and folders, you can add your file so that it is included in the binary. And another thing is, when I use this approach, I like to have an auto-loaded singleton that loads the file. I have an example here. This will be an auto-loaded script that when the game boots, it runs, and it loads the file, and it even organizes it in a more practical way. Another thing that this file could do is use other data structures or classes to hold your information, or even perform some validations over your data. If you want to add an auto-loaded script, you go to Project Settings, Auto-load, you grab the script you want, click Add, and here it is. It will run, and you can access it by db.whatever it has inside of it. And that is all. In a following video, I'll show you how I use this to configure all of One Way Dungeon's elements, from the monsters to the moves and even the dungeon itself. You can follow the development of One Way Dungeon on vishkivudev.gitlab.io/oneway dungeon, or follow me on Twitter on @vishkivudev. See you then.